Sometimes life is yikes.
And that's okay. You're not alone. Welcome to Yikesland.
Hi guys, and welcome to Yikesland. It's a very birthday Yikesland today.
It is it not?
It's Jelani's birthday. I was gonna sing like the happy birthday song, but with some Yikesland words in there, and I couldn't think of it fast enough.
Oh no.
So there you go. There's my intention. But a big birthday yikes to my yike right here.
That's right. Into Yikesland, I have grown older, wiser, and more sad.
But you made it another year, and you guys made it another week to another Tuesday. We are happy to see you here. It's another good Tuesday because you are here with us.
That's right.
If you want to be extra here with us,
or
here with us in the internet sphere, you can always find us on Twitter or Facebook. You can follow our Instagram at Yikesland_podcast or email us at yikesland@gmail.com.
That's right. Send us questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, guys. We'd love to hear from you guys so we can interact back with the community out there. We're trying to build people who are just, going day by day in their lives here in Yikesland, dealing with mental health and, mental illness and things like that. So it's fun.
Build a community of yikes.
Yeah,
I like
that's right. Build a community of yikes.
Well, I will start off today's episode like we always do. Birthday Jelani, how are you?
It is, of course, it is my birthday at the time of this recording, not the time of the release of the podcast, guys. But
you can still wish him a happy birthday at any
it'd be
point
amazing.
during
Thank you
this
guys
month.
So much. I'd appreciate it. The whole month, please.
It's his birthday year, so.
It's my birthday year. Yes, I am turning the big 3-0. Oh, man. Is it too early to have an existential crisis?
It's never too early
to
have an existential
Good.
crisis.
I might be having one. Well, yeah, I suppose this past week has been kind of a slog between work and just pondering existence, if you will. But it's hasn't really drug me down, but I felt like a little off this week.
Sure.
But it's been all right. I've been trying to refocus, as I let on in the last episode, and I've trying to refocus everything, get everything back on track, and it's gonna take a little bit of willpower for me to do it. But I'm refocusing everything, trying to get everything set up where my ducks in a row, if you will, and try and figure out where I want to be headed in. So I think I'm starting to set everything up, and I think I know where everything needs to lie. So it's just about whether or not I have the willpower at the moment to execute it. It's been kind of a slog this week, but I think I'm getting there. So
That's good.
How about you? How are you doing?
I had a nice weekend. I had yesterday off, and I know a lot of people had yesterday off, but
surprise.
at the time of this recording because of Memorial Day.
Yes.
But I don't usually actually take the day off even. So we were closed. The restaurant was closed for Memorial Day, and usually when we are closed, I will still go in because it's actually a good opportunity. It's hard to get work done when there's a ton of people around. Like certain types of things, I need either like. It's easier to work when it's quiet, but more often it's just literally the space. Like I'll need to like get into the cooler to replace things and stuff like that.
Okay.
And usually that's difficult to fit around people. So I will intentionally go in and work on days that we are closed and be like, wow, what an amazing opportunity to do working. And I did feel like that, and I did want to go in, but I made myself not do it so that I could actually have like a genuine day off.
Like a self-care.
Yeah, and it was.
We talked about that,
yeah.
Past couple episodes.
Yeah. And so that was nice. Like it was stressful to make myself not work for a while, but I tried to like just lean into it real hard, lean into the relaxing. And it was pretty successful. Like I had a good time. Obviously, at the end of the day, I kind of felt guilty for not working. But that's just something that I have to work on, I guess.
Just something you have
Always
to get
something
okay
to work
with yourself,
on.
I guess, right?
Yeah, but it was a good weekend, and I think it is probably a good thing that I had a day off.
Good.
So I'm proud of that, I guess. Although I feel lazy saying that, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing as well
Well, again,
at that as
we
I
talked about
think I
in
am.
the past couple episodes about self-care and the importance of it every now and then. So
Yeah.
I mean, like a day here and there, while we can feel guilty about it if we really dive into our work. Like sometimes I feel guilty about like not doing a lot of stuff with the streams or stuff like that because like should be doing it, but then there's just days where I'm just like, you know what, I really need to step back and kind of just like unwind. Otherwise, I'm gonna be so just I don't know pent up and uncomfortable and stressed out and things like that. So while at the end of the day, yeah, I was like, oh, I could have did this, I could have did that. We could have did a lot of things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's about what you did accomplish, I guess. And
Well, and also, I mean, theoretically, if you are working all the time and you never take a break, you're going to be a lot less creative, and the time that you are working is going to be less productive because you're not able to concentrate as well, or just apply yourself. Because a burnt out person has a lot of trouble getting stuff done, as I know, and so it is better to take more breaks, but then just really focus when you're able to. So I objectively know that it's good and fine to have days off and that I should probably have more of them. And in an ideal world, I would have more of them. But definitely, like, there's a lot of voices in my head, not literal voices, but a lot of things in my head that are like, oh, you're, like, you could have done X, Y, and Z, and then tomorrow would have been easier and stuff like that. So it's hard to get that language of blame out of your head. But I think it's important that we all try to excise that because it's not actually making you more productive to be a workaholic. It's just burning you out faster and making the quality of the time that you are working less. So.
You may feel like you don't accomplish much out there, after you've taken a day like that. But at the end of the day, you did accomplish something, which was kind of like unwinding and taking the time, to breathe, taking a step back and, as we stated last week, looking at the entire elephant instead of standing too close to it.
In the French style.
In the French style.
From last
of doing
episode.
It.
You when you're out of work, you're out of work. But
exactly. So that's what you want to do. Make sure that you guys are out there taking care of yourselves. It's important that you're here with us every day, being healthy. How about we jump into topic of the week?
All right. I'm actually going to let you introduce that.
Well,
since it's themed around you.
It's my birthday, and
you'll cry if you want to.
And I'll cry if I want to, and I'll age if I want to. So the idea and the concept of today's topic is the idea of age, right? And how does that relate, contribute, anything like that to mental health and our perspectives on mental health and mental illness that we have, and things like that. So that's why I wanted to go into it, because it is my birthday and it has to do with age. So I was like, this seems like a good point to bring this up. I don't know. But yeah, so looking back and just like, let me see what I remember through the eyes of Jelani in different years. And it's not much. It's very hard to remember a lot of things nowadays. But going through it, I was like, man, I've had very different reactions to my illness, if you will, my depression. I've had, of course, there's like when you're a teenager, you have very angsty, very just, shut yourself off and, don't care about much. And, it gets, the emotions are what I would say heightened to 1,000 at that point. And then
your brain is literally mush at that point scientifically. So.
Yeah. So it's just, all this mumble jumble going on. And then there was a calm, I would say, for quite some time, like my 20s. And then now with everything that's happened, on the experiences that have happened in my life, like I feel like this is completely different. So I feel like there's been stages of it, it's evolved and shifted and changed along the way. What about you? How do you feel about like the way that you have evolved with like your outlook on everything?
Well, I have a big I have a big thing about age.
Good.
So I'm excited for
Good.
this topic.
Let's do it.
But I will say first off that it's I think that if you are a person, especially with depression, but other mental health struggles, that aging is then sort of, and we don't necessarily look at it this way, but aging is like an extra dope accomplishment. If you are still alive despite like your worst thoughts or your best attempts to not actually grow old, the fact that you're still here is something to really be proud of. And so, I mean, that's true for everyone because everybody's surviving stuff. They may be surviving physical illness or mental illness or just everything that this Yikesland throws at you.
Yeah.
But I think it's especially something to be proud of if you're a depressed person. And so, as somebody who's definitely had suicidal thoughts and worse before, I think every year that I get older is like, oh, that's, whether or not I feel that way on my birthday, it is a really cool thing that I've like made it another year because I didn't necessarily always want to. And so I would say, I think that our society has a really weird thing about age that's actually pretty shitty. And for you especially, like, we have a weird thing about turning 30 that sucks. And I don't know why we do it. Like, we try to stress people out about turning 30 as if there's something horrible about that specific age.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, and exactly. And people make that exact joke over and over again. And, like, some people are saying it sarcastically, but I think it sort of starts to... if you make a joke too many times, it'll start to infiltrate really the collective consciousness where you start to actually think like, it's all downhill from here. Like 30 really is like, now I can't change anything. I am the way I am. Like, this is the way things are.
Yeah. Now it's too late. Everything's too late. It's over. I might as well just die now,
Which is absolutely ridiculous. Most of the best people that I know are older people. And I don't know if it is specifically an American thing. I think in general it's kind of because there's a stereotype in Asian culture, but it is kind of true about revering older people in the family because they're wiser. They've lived longer, so they've seen more stuff, so they're wise and they're supposed to be better because of that. Mm-hmm. But I really... I treasure that, and I think in a lot of ways that's true. And that's not to say that young people are dumb or that they're bad because they haven't seen as much shit. But like there is absolutely something to be said about older people being dope as hell, you know?
It's weird, because there's this weird kind of like everything that has permeated like the popular mind's eye of everybody out there. It's always just like, oh, you gotta get everything done as soon as possible and like up front, load everything up front, and then like, and I always thought that was really weird because like everyone always tries to rush into everything, I think, and everyone again gets caught up in like trying to sprint to the end instead of like enjoying the stroll to the end, if you will. And like when you hit like the popular joke of like you hit 30, it's all downhill from here, you accomplished, you're supposed to have accomplished everything by now. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think that's true at all. I 100% believe that's a false statement there. I think that like you as you continue to grow older, I think that like you're again, you learn more, you evolve more, you begin to adapt more to everything that's happening in the world. Like everyone seems to like think that like when they're younger and they're dealing with like mental illness and they're dealing with depression, it's the end, everything is the worst, and you become the most self-destructive force on earth, like, especially towards yourself. I've done it. I think you've said you've dealt with that as well, and it's it's like the hardest hurdle to get over. But then as you get a little bit older, sometimes it tends to evolve and change from that. Remove yourself from that, like the mushy brain stage, as you called it earlier, and moved into something older. Like it seems to like we have this different outlook on it, and we have like this way, like right now I'm trying to, instead of take all the roads that I've taken before of like, it's all the same thing. I become very self-destructive. I don't, extend out for help. I don't do this, I don't do that. I just kind of just like curl back into myself. I'm like, no, let's adapt, let's change, let's evolve this, because I've learned from what I've done before. Doesn't help. It's very self-destructive, and I need to change that. But the thing is, like, of course I have to have the will to do that, but of course, I'm a little bit older, so I'm a little bit tired. I get tired easily. I fall asleep in the middle of a movie, but it's odd. I think that, like, when we deal with it and we look at it, it's really weird that, like, there's this weird stigma around age, and being youthful is like the best of it, and then, like, as you hit a certain, like, age where you're no longer young, as you quote unquote young, you become obsolete, and you become like, oh, it's the end of days now, just like ride yourself into the ground, might as well. And I think that's a really weird concept. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing where, to me, the only, like, being an older person is only bad if you've decided to stop changing, and if you're using your age as an excuse to just be set in your ways, then it's bad. Because I think, we're all human, so nobody knows all the right answers. Wouldn't it be nice? So you'll learn things about yourself and about the world as you grow older, because you've encountered more things. And ideally, when you encounter these new situations, new people, you'll absorb lessons, and you'll actually, if you're living with intention, where you examine things that are happening in the world around you and things that are happening with you and your own reactions, then you're going to get better and wiser as you grow. And so the only reason that aging would be bad is if you decide, okay, I'm X number of years old, I guess my personality just is set this way. This is what it is. Everybody has to deal with me the way I am.
Yeah.
And I do know older people like that, and they do suck. So, it's not like all old people are like these amazing, like, wise, deft creatures.
There are some very stubborn individuals out there. I know quite a few myself.
Yeah, but if you age, quote unquote, right, as I would define it, this is just how I look at it, and I'm sure most people disagree, but if you age what I'm considering the right way, where you're using time to grow and make yourself better and make the world around you better, then yes, you will get better as you get older. And so I guess there's not something inherently bad about any age. When you're young, you have a lot more energy, and you have sort of these really strong opinions, and they may not be as well founded just because you, like, literally haven't been alive for as much time. But you have a lot of, like, energy, and you'll see really cool, there's a lot of young people that are really awesome at activism and stuff like that, because they have a lot of energy and they really want to change the world and make it better.
Yeah.
So it's not...
And very headstrong.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool thing about being young, but there's also really cool stuff about being old, too. And it's not necessarily that any one age that you are is, like, better than others. It's just that sort of your strengths change over time, where when you're older, like, you may not be able to run as far, but you may have learned some things. So I guess I was talking with my mom the other day about this. I guess this was maybe a week or so ago, and I was thinking about running, because, like I told you guys in some previous episodes, I've been training for a 5K, and that used to be something...
I thought you just meant just like, I'm just going to run. I'm just going to run away.
See ya. That used to be something that I never thought that I could do before, because I really hated running, and I, like, didn't know how to make myself do it. And I was thinking about, I guess there will come a point where There are some older people that are really good at running, but I don't think I'll really be like that. So there will come a point where, like my body's not good at running anymore, but I will have gained, these other types of wisdom. And so it's sort of a trade-off thing where you can collect experiences and you can collect, knowledge and wisdom and kindness. And yeah, things are going to change. You'll get wrinkles and your hair will get gray and stuff like that if you're lucky enough to live that long. But I don't think this thing where we, especially in American society, treat aging like it's definitely a bad thing or something to be hidden or something to be fought with like a million anti-aging creams. All that stuff is like really ridiculous to me.
Vanity.
And I think it makes me sad that people feel fearful of aging, rather than, because I think that doesn't set you up to age well, and that doesn't set you up to be like, wow, it's cool that I've lived this long, like I'm lucky that I got to be here for this long, and here's all the stuff that I learned along the way. It kind of just sets you up to feel sour about getting older or feel insecure about getting older, and nobody should have to feel that way, and I think I'll say this here, even though my dad will hear it, but I think he knows that I feel this way. But my parents, even over the course of me growing up, have gotten way cooler. Like, I think they've aged really well. And by cooler, I mean, when I was younger, they used to be kind of like strict and a little bit trying to direct my path, and it was very well intentioned. You want your kids to be successful and you want them to grow up with all the opportunities in the world, but at times that definitely felt oppressive. You think of the stereotypical Asian parenting, and my situation wasn't exactly like that, but it was somewhat similar, where there is that push to be successful in sort of narrow academic ways, and maybe at the detriment of being more artistic or exploring other creative avenues and stuff like that. And so they sort of had a little bit more of a narrow view of the way that my life might go if I was to be like a successful kid or something. And like, it turned out that the small amount of pressure that I got from them and the big amount of pressure that I got like just from myself made me miserable as a child. And the way that my parents are now, though, and this is what, like, so 20 years later, they're super chill. Like, they'll really emphasize, life is not linear. You might take lots of different paths. You might have a different definition of success than other people do, and that's okay. It's like whatever makes you happy in the end, because it's your life. And I sort of just get this like they're purely supportive now, where they just want my life to go well however I want my life to go well, but they were not like that when I was a child. And I think that's a really good example of, I look at them and I think, well, how can I not look forward to getting older? Because I would love to be like that, I'm very neurotic now and anxious and stuff like that. And I guess I've kind of always hoped that I would at some point, I do things like, I've done things like therapy and try medication, and we talk about all of our different tools in our mental health toolbox to combat like the negative effects of anxiety and stuff like that. But I think I've always hoped kind of that, because you see this happen a lot, that people will sort of age out of their anxiety. And that's not to say that older people don't experience anxiety, but that it does seem to happen a lot, at least with people I know, that they chill out as they get older. And I like can't wait to chill out. I can't wait to not care what I look like. I can't wait to like become smart enough that I'm not looking in the mirror and thinking bad thoughts about my appearance. Like, I can't wait for that stuff. So I'm like, wow, I cannot wait to be older than this. Yeah. Being this is like very stressful, and I'm trying to fight against it. But I feel like when I'm 40, I'll just be like a chill older lady who's like now hot because of her personality instead of my personality now, which is very neurotic
Okay.
and being whatever, society's definition of attractive is. You see a lot of this in interviews with, they're always doing like these weird interviews with quote unquote older like female celebrities like Jennifer Garner and Cameron Diaz, and they're always saying like this is the best time, like it'll be like on their 40th birthday and they'll be like this is the best time of my life because I don't care how I look, and like I'm not stressed out about the pressures of society, and I'm just like having a good time doing projects I want to do and stuff like that. And I think especially for women who because our worth is so determined by society based on what we look like, I'm like, I can't wait to be older and have people not judge me on that. So like to me it seems like there's all this awesome stuff about getting older that I have like the reverse opinion of what I've been told we're supposed to have about aging, where I'm like, can I get me some of that age 40 though?
This actually leads me to that right there. Lead me one of the things I really enjoyed stemming off of the whole like celebrity thing and like them being interviewed and everything like that. One of the things I always thought was really cool was seeing someone do an interview where they did an interview earlier and then like came back and did the same exact interview at a later date. I've seen like a video or two of that where like they were interviewed by somebody, they did these certain questions in the same order in the same way, and everything was exactly the same, and then they went back, and like it shows the comparison what their answers were and how they felt on like certain questions. And I always thought that was very interesting because like the answers were like night and day, where they were completely different. And of course, that's as you grow old, you start to absorb, experiences and things from your environment, things from what you've learned along the way. And I find it interesting that like, going through it, when we go, like when you and me get like super old and we look back on this podcast, I wonder whether or not we're going to agree with everything we have said on this podcast.
Well, and I hope we don't, because I think one of the cool things about getting older is you get to have been like sort of several different versions of yourself over the course of your life. Like you get to play different characters, except you think they're real at the time. You're like, oh, this is real. These are my real opinions. These are going to be my opinions forever.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be your opinions forever if you're living your life right. But I hope later when I watch these podcasts, I say, oh, she's so bad at being on a podcast, because that would mean that later I've gotten better at talking, I guess. And I hope, too, that I'm like, why is she so stressed out about these things that I'm not stressed out about at all? Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should totally come up with like a answer, like survey or quiz thing that we do on air. And then
that's like a time capsule for us.
It's like time capsule for us. And then maybe whether or not we look back at it or not, maybe later down the road in the podcast, we redo the survey without looking back an episode, and then seeing how they compared. Because like I think that'd be really great. That's something I'm gonna write that on our docket. That's something we need to save. Our opinions on everything. That's interesting. I like that. But yeah, as we evolve, I also like you brought up like we evolve into different versions of ourselves, and like that's happened to me. Many a times I've evolved into many different faces and many different versions of myself, especially like when I was young and hot-headed and didn't give a shit about anything. But then like as you evolve, then it becomes, like you said, like it seems you become more chill and you become less headstrong about things, or less emotional, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
But I think ideally you become less convinced that you're right all the time, because nobody's right all the time.
No.
And you can still believe firmly the things that you believe, as far as like your morals and what's important to you, and like believing that people should be good and stuff like that. I'm not saying change those beliefs, but I think when you're younger, it's easy to think that everything you think is permanent and it's always going to be that way, and that you're for sure right about everything, and nobody's for sure right about everything. And that doesn't mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff I'm saying is going to sound like, oh, I think young people are all stupid and bad, and it's not. It's that life is just a journey of collected experiences, and so you have fewer things to go off of when you're younger, and you can still be incredibly smart and talented and have really good thoughts when you're younger too. But it's just when you're older, you're going to have more evidence and more experiences. You have more resources there to go off of as far as life experience. And so that can be cool, where even if you're losing some things, like, you'll lose some, ultimately you may lose some memories, although I'm young and have lost a ton of memories already, and that's okay. But it's just different, and there's lots of good things to appreciate about being every age. But I think I personally, because of my own like problems with anxiety and depression and stuff like that, I personally really look forward to aging, because I think that will help with a lot of the stuff that I struggle with, where, I might be somewhat prone to depression forever, but I do think that a lot of it has gotten better as I have learned how to deal with it. And so if I keep working at it, that I'll get better and better with age, and then some things will just sort of not matter anymore. I used to be really concerned about school, and I was like, oh my God, school must be the entire world. The grades I get define who I am as a person. And by senior year of college, I was like, ha ha ha, this is all so stupid. Like, I was like, I'm gonna study and I'm gonna take the tests. But I almost didn't want to go. I felt silly going to my graduation. And I went to NYU, and we were at Yankee Stadium, and it was like a cool, as far as like they put on a good show, but I was like, this is a little bit ridiculous. Like, it's a weird charade to me. And my dad was working in Hong Kong at the time, and he was probably not going to be able to come to my graduation. And my parents asked me, like, is that okay? Are you going to be really sad? And I was like, no, I'm not going to be sad at all, because the stuff that matters is everything I learned in the 4 years that I was at college, and it's not necessarily from classes. Some of it was from classes, some of it was from just conversations with professors, some of it was from conversations with other students, some of it was from living in the city, but none of it had to do with like the number of credits I got and the grades I got and the honors I had. And so it was like, the concept of going to graduation as a celebration of like finishing a thing is really weird to me, because that's not the stuff that matters to me. And so, milestones can be fun to celebrate, like if you use them for fun, but they are arbitrary, and so you shouldn't use them to punish yourself, where thinking like, oh, turning 30 is like, all right, here's the cutoff, you're done.
That's right.
Happy death day to you. Your personality is set,
Let me just
buddy.
walk right into that grave. Hold on a second. I need my walker. I'll just be like the guy from Up.
You're going to spend the rest of your life exactly as depressed as you are right now.
Exactly. It's over. I ran out of time. Expired. Game over.
Well, you tried. So,
I tried.
Yeah. Better luck next time.
It's, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that we have all these different, like, we have personally like these looks, these different views in different windows at certain periods in our time, our timeline of like with our mental illness, and then at the same time, like you look at the world today and everything like that, and like what it means to be at a certain age, or what it, definition, like the younger the better, or this and that, youthfulness is the the key and all that stuff. But yeah, like you said, it's odd, and it's not necessarily great, but at the same time, like, I will, when we get older, we take that step forward and we continue to evolve and continue to better ourselves. If you continue to better yourself, because there are people out there we know that like don't, and then they stuck in their ways, they're stubborn, and and then they suck. But yeah, when we evolve and we take those steps forward, and we can continue to try and learn from the experiences we gained and all the things we absorbed throughout our lifetime, like maybe we'll age out. Maybe that's the proper word for like curing ourselves. Maybe it's not like oh, we found the path. Maybe it's just we were able to evolve and absorb enough to be able to mature out of it. I don't know. It's a weird concept. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of you can take a lot of solace and a lot of hope out of getting older if you are a person with depression, because there's hope in time. If you can like stick it out long enough, then you will hopefully find ways to feel happier. And that doesn't mean you'll never feel sad again, and that doesn't mean you necessarily have to never feel depressed again. Like, feeling depressed feelings or experiencing those symptoms isn't like a failure on your part at all. But I think in general it does tend to be that people who are who have a certain mindset will get happier as they get older. And I know that, like, my parents really enjoy being whatever age that they are, and that's always been a really good role model situation for me, a really good paradigm, I guess I would say. And they've been that way forever. And again, like I was saying earlier, it's not that they were bad parents before, but what they are now is way cooler to me than what they were before. And it doesn't mean that your opinions right now are bad or the way you're living your life right now is bad. It just might be that something else works better later. But this is where you had to be at this point in your journey in order to get wherever you're going. So if you can kind of just, it's like, stick it out, do your best, keep your eyes open, pay attention to lessons, and work on yourself, then, like, hopefully you become wiser and kinder and better at loving as you get older. Yeah. And so I think, especially for those of us in Yikesland, there's a lot of hope that Yikesland looks brighter when you're older.
Yeah, I would hope so. And again, we want you guys to keep moving forward, and we want you guys to keep continuing to get older with us as we continue on in this in this Yikesland world. Yeah. I mean, any final thoughts or anything else you want to say on the final topic?
Well, I just I appreciate, this is episode 23, like Jelani said, which I think even the podcast is getting older, and I would say the podcast has gotten better as it has aged.
Yeah. Yeah, as we continue to express ourselves about, like, our problems with mental illness and mental health in general, I think, like, we're able to, again, as you want to, evolve.
Yeah, I definitely remember feeling like it was very difficult to talk before, in the first couple of episodes especially. And I think, like anything that you practice at, you're gonna get better or change or, realize that you have different priorities and stuff like that. So I think anything that you're working on and anything that you're practicing at, you will improve over time. And that doesn't mean that improvement is going to be linear, but if you're committed to working on it, just like if you're committed to working on your depression, or you're just committed to working on your life and who you are as a person, that you're going to get better and things are going to get better. So I think that it's a congratulations to you for turning 30.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully when I reach 31, I won't, continue to think I'm going to be walking into a grave, and I continue to evolve, as that change and evolve is the key. That's what we want to work towards. We always want to keep adapting and moving forward and refocusing. So I hope that by that time, I'll continue to move forward, and we'll see where it goes. We always want to just keep moving on, keep making it to next Tuesday, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here with us today, guys. If you have feedback for us, if you want to wish Jelani a happy 30th, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. You can also find us on Instagram at Yikesland_podcast. Comment those birthday cake emojis.
That's right.
He's just here for the cake.
That's right. Always.
So, or you can email us at Yikesland@gmail.com.
I was like, what? What is it? There's only one underscore.
0 underscores.
0 underscores. Yikesland@gmail.com. Yeah.
As always, if you are having suicidal thoughts and you need someone to talk to, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a great resource. It's completely confidential. They're available 24/7. It's free. That number is 1-800-273-8255. And do use that if you need it, because we want you to be here aging with us. That's making it to 30, making it to 60.
Making it to as far as we need to get, as far as you can.
Making it to your next evolution.
That's right, to the next adaptation. Yeah, This has been your host, Jelani Hoon.
Along with host Chris Fung.
We appreciate you guys being here every week. Hopefully, you guys are doing well out there and aging well and adapting well. And we want you guys to feel good, feel better, and make sure you guys are being good to each other out there. And thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next week.
Take care, guys.